They thrived in their own way. The men Prometheus shaped, strong, determined, and fueled by the fire he stole for them. But something was missing, something they didn't even know they needed. Prometheus had poured his care into their creation, giving them life, teaching them to harness fire, and shaping their world. But their existence was solitary, incomplete. These men, born from the hands of gods and nurtured by the clever Titan, lived like shadows of what they could be. They tilled the earth and built homes, yet their eyes held a hollow loneliness, a quiet yearning they couldn't name. I was told this was the foundation of Zeus's plan, a silent gap in their lives that begged to be filled. And I, Pandora, was that answer. I was born from a thought, a flicker of vengeance in Zeus's mind, a plan veiled in beauty but rooted in punishment. It was not love or kindness that brought me into existence. Zeus, in his cold fury at Prometheus for defying him, sought a way to humble humanity. The fire they had was a gift too great, a spark of power too close to the divine. So Zeus designed me not as a blessing but as a test, a trap, a creation so perfect that no man could resist but so cunningly made that my arrival would mark their undoing. For Zeus, I was not a person. I was a weapon, as delicate as a whisper and as devastating as a storm. I wasn't just crafted. I was assembled piece by piece like a masterpiece no single artist could create. Hephaestus was the first to work on me, shaping my form from clay. His hands were sure, molding my face, my limbs, and every curve with an attention to detail that still unnerves me. Aphrodite then adorned me with beauty so flawless it felt like a mask, something so enticing it hid the truth of who I was. Athena wove skill and grace into my every movement, teaching me to walk like a dream, to speak like a song. Even Hermes, the trickster god, left his mark. His gift was a silver tongue and a cunning mind, though it came with a twist, a tendency toward curiosity that would eventually seal my fate. They named me Pandora, meaning all gifted, but I began to wonder if their gifts were blessings or burdens. As they worked, I felt like an intricate puzzle, each piece designed to draw the world's gaze, yet carry the weight of the gods' intentions. Names carry power, don't they? Mine was no exception, though it was as much a riddle as it was a title. All gifted, that's what they called me. It sounded noble, didn't it? A name fit for someone extraordinary. But the more I heard it, the more it felt like a warning. The gifts they poured into me were too perfect, too calculated. They weren't gifts at all. They were tools, each one sharpened for Zeus's purpose. My name wasn't a blessing. It was a prophecy. When I met Epimetheus, his eyes were different from the others. Where others gazed with admiration, awe, or desire, he looked at me with something else, something uncertain, as though he knew a truth I did not. Zeus had devised a clever plan to punish humanity for Prometheus's theft of fire and his defiance. Zeus sent me not to humanity at large, but directly to Epimetheus, the Titan of afterthought, Prometheus's brother. He knew Epimetheus's nature, a soft heart, quick to trust. Prometheus had warned his brother never to accept gifts from Zeus, but when I stood before him, how could he resist? My presence was divine by design, my words honeyed with persuasion. Even if doubt flickered in his heart, it was drowned by my charm. At first he hesitated. His brother's warnings echoed in his mind. I could see it in his gaze. But Zeus's cunning was in every stitch of my being, and I had been created to sway even the most resolute. I spoke to him gently, and his walls fell away. His hands took mine. His voice faltered as he welcomed me into his home. I did not understand my purpose. Not fully. I was both a gift and a trap, sent to sow discord among men and bind their fates to toil and strife. Even then, I thought I could bring joy. Yet there was a shadow in my heart, an unease I could not explain. I longed to be more than what the gods had made me, but I felt the weight of their will, driving me towards something darker than I could comprehend. In accepting me, Epimetheus unwittingly fulfilled Zeus' vengeance. What followed was a rupture in the world that no mortal or god could undo. For a while it was beautiful, too beautiful, like the calm before a storm. Life with Epimetheus was warm and simple. We laughed, shared stories, and built a home together. For a time, I almost forgot the weight of my creation. I wanted to believe this was all I was meant for, to bring joy to him and to live a quiet, peaceful life. But there was a shadow over our happiness. The jar Zeus had given me sat in the corner of our home, untouched yet impossible to ignore. It was always there, its presence a silent whisper in my mind. "Don't open it," they had told me. They said it was a gift for safekeeping, but each day it felt less like a gift and more like a dare. When Hermes placed the jar into my hands, he smiled, but there was something cold in his eyes. "Pandora," he said, "this is a treasure from the gods. Keep it safe, for its contents are precious and not meant to be disturbed." His voice was like silk, but the weight of the jar told a different story. The jar was sealed with a heavy lid, its surface covered in carvings of serpents, waves, and flames. The images seemed to writhe as if alive, daring me to look closer. Athena had whispered to me as she helped prepare me for my journey. "The jar holds what should never be opened. Remember that, Pandora." Her words were stern, but they held no explanation. I dared not ask Zeus himself why the jar mattered, for his gaze alone sent shivers through me. Epimetheus noticed it too. He had asked me once after I had settled into his home, "What did the gods tell you about this thing?" I told him what I knew, or rather, what I didn't. "To guard it," I replied. "That's all, nothing more." His eyes lingered on the jar for a moment and then on me, as though he expected me to say more. But how could I explain the questions clawing at my own heart? What's inside? Why would the gods give it to me? Would it hurt to take just one look? For me, every moment near that jar was a battle. My heart raced when I passed it. My fingers itched to touch the lid. The gods had gifted me curiosity, and it burned within me like the fire Prometheus had stolen. I tried to resist. Truly I did. But the more I fought the urge, the more it consumed me. It wasn't just about the jar. It was about the secrets it held. Secrets I wasn't meant to know. Secrets that called my name. But the gods had given me a gift, one I couldn't escape. Curiosity. The lid felt like it resisted me as though it was alive. It wasn't just a jar. It was a guardian of secrets, and I was breaking its silent pact. The moment I opened it, the air seemed to explode. A howling wind roared from within, carrying shapes that clawed their way into the light. They were not creatures, but something worse. Ideas given form. I saw sickness as a serpent winding through the air, envy a pale shadow darting between the walls, despair, a heavy choking fog that seeped into everything. Each one passed me by, leaving behind only a trail of cold. The world outside our home had been bright, alive with the hum of the gods' creations. But as the shadows escaped, I saw the light dimming. The laughter of birds was replaced by silence, and the skies began to churn with storms. Each breath I took felt heavier, tainted with what I had unleashed. I turned to Epimetheus. He didn't need to say anything. His eyes screamed the questions I feared most. Why did you do this? Why couldn't you leave it alone? But even I didn't know the answer. The gods had created me with curiosity carved into my being, a flame I couldn't extinguish. And now the world would pay the price. My heart sank as I realized the enormity of what I had done. I wasn't just Pandora anymore. I was the cause of humanity's suffering. Every tear shed, every wound inflicted, every moment of grief, they would trace back to this moment, to me. And yet, even in the depths of my despair, I noticed something strange. The jar still glowed faintly, as if it wasn't finished. I leaned closer, afraid yet drawn in. Inside, beneath the storm of curses, there was a faint light, a warm ember in a sea of darkness. And then I heard it, a voice so soft it was barely a whisper. "Please," it said, "don't leave me here." I hesitated. My hands, still trembling, hovered over the jar's lid. I couldn't trust myself anymore, couldn't risk unleashing something worse. But the voice, it was not like the others. It didn't howl or demand. It simply waited, patient and kind. Finally, I opened the jar again. The light emerged slowly this time, curling through the air like smoke. It wasn't harsh or wild. It was soft, golden, alive. It touched my skin like the warmth of a fire on a cold night, wrapping itself around me and Epimetheus. The chaos it left in its wake felt momentarily distant. "This is hope," the voice said, not in words but in feeling. And then it was gone, a quiet presence woven into the world it now shared with pain. I stared at the jar, its once imposing weight now reduced to emptiness. The gods, cruel as they were, had left this one gift, not as a solution, not as a cure, but as a companion for humanity's suffering. Hope was not a shield. It was a whisper of resilience, a reminder that even in the darkest moments, there was something to cling to. I closed the jar for the last time, feeling its cold surface beneath my fingers. I had released the worst of existence, but also its faintest salvation. The gods may have cursed me with curiosity, but they had also given me this moment, a sliver of redemption in the face of ruin. As I looked out at the world, forever changed, I understood my purpose. I was not just the bringer of woes. I was a mirror of humanity itself, flawed, curious, and capable of enduring. And so the world was reborn in chaos, shaped by the shadows I unleashed. But somewhere in the darkness, hope flickered, a fragile light that would never be extinguished. It was my greatest regret, and perhaps my only gift.